Hi, welcome to Healing and Heals. I'm your host, Christina Marie.
Co-host J Love, we out here.
Yeah, and we are in episode 3.
Toe to toe.
Toe to toe. So, I'm sure like everyone has experienced in some way, shape, or form seeing either a Rocky movie or Creed or Hey Teo.
What's happening?
Or seeing, like some type of a boxer movie, right? Where in the beginning, right, the announcer does this whole, in this corner, you have weighing an undisclosed number of pounds. Thank you very much. And almost 5'3".
Hey.
Christina Marie, and the crowd goes wild. It's like, "Ah." And in that corner, we have, guess who? Me again, because we're going to be talking about me versus me.
Yeah.
Like everybody has the t-shirt, like I'm not competing with anyone. It's me versus me. Well, let's talk about your me versus me today. Let's go toe to toe with you in the ring. So, J Love. The great J Love. When it comes to going toe to toe and discussing, facing our own issues and just kind of talking about the person in the mirror, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to us about how we cannot just really continue to say, that's just who I am. Because that's my favorite one. I've always been this way, and that's just who I am. People got to accept me for me, and, I'm going to do me. So talk to me a little bit about that today.
Well, I that came later for me. That you're going to have to accept me as I is. Yeah, that kind of came later for me. I was usually introverted and shy and all the things, and I was very reserved, still kind of am, but over time, that taught me to do work. So much work we have to do. So
doing the work, huh?
So this, got to do the work. So y'all ready for this? So I'm a visual person. Sometimes our listeners those who are chiming in are also visuals, and it's amazing how people can always project or state things about us that simply are untrue, right? Not knowing that we have our own battles kind of going on in here. So for our viewers, if those that are watching, if you're listening, you won't get to see this, but if you're viewing online, you absolutely will get to see this visual that I have. So I have a mirror with a skin tone mask on here, and then there are words that are in the middle of this thing here that have words like free-spirited, failure, bookworm, retard, divorce, polish, go-getter, quitter, stinky, ugly, pretty, right? Cheap, lazy, beautiful, nice, weak. All these things that people have projected and said to me about myself when they didn't know that on the outside here, you see the black words were things that I thought of myself already. The one who was going through depression, it was insecure, felt rejected, right? Fearful. Known to be one who was molested, suicidal. I was voiceless, right? I had, didn't know how to project. You just straight up had issues is what we call them, right?
Right.
Not knowing that I hear all these things, right? I knew they weren't true about me, right? But these people obviously didn't know me well enough. So one day I had to go to the mirror. I had to talk to God and who am I? Started asking questions. So for me, that journey started back in 2012. Who am I?
Because that's a big one. Like, who are you in the ring
and
with?
Exactly, right? So this is me versus me. And sometimes we have to dig into our past. We have to ask those around us, like, who are you? Who do you see me as? And then whatever became the collective. Right? Is like, okay, well, this part must be true. Even if I didn't believe it or accept it yet, this part must be true. So I started asking myself and asking God, who am I? I need to be able to see that, right?
Definitely.
So in the who am I portion of that, he began to give me answers through relatives, through friends. And then I'm like, okay, so now I took that information back. I didn't always do things right away. Right. Because, again, this journey started in 2012. We're in 2023.
Right.
So
a little bit of a ways there. This is like round 12 at this point. We still in here.
It's been some time. And so over the course of, that was 11 years ago. And so now God started answering those questions for me. Who did I become? I became confident. I became more victorious. I had to feed myself the word of God to know who it was that I am. Even though I wasn't believing it yet.
Yeah, so talk
right?
about that.
I
Like
didn't
when,
believe it yet.
like a lot of times, like I said, the illustration he kind of gave me for the toe to toe match is kind of like, one thing about when you get into a ring, they put you in the same class. So like, there's never a heavyweight with a lightweight. You know
Right.
what I mean? So
Right.
when you face yourself with these issues, when you, so to speak, go toe to toe with these issues, obviously dealing with the word of God on who you really are and kind of trying to figure out what that looks like in
Yeah.
reality, that's a real thing.
Absolutely.
And we definitely have to deal with that. So besides, I know you mentioned talking to, family members and relatives and definitely reading your word, but how did you really start to kind of, as Dr. Kim Spates would say, kind of excavate and get rid of the not truth to
Yes.
replace it with the truth?
So workbooks, counseling. I remember going to counseling, and my counselor at that time was the one that told me, "Hey, she's like, oh, you're a physical person." Right, you're a physical person. And she was like, you. So she got up, she went in her closet, she got a ball, she got one of the little medicine balls, exercising balls.
Pause.
Time's out.
Pause. I cannot. I cannot. I cannot. I am so sorry. I cannot. We need to pause.
gotta edit it.
I cannot.
Oh.
I cannot. Oh God, I cannot.
But how about we can actually utilize this though, because this is what happens when you are when you
So
are
you don't
going
want to stop
toe-to-toe.
recording.
Nope.
So we gonna go to
'Cause
toe to
here's
toe.
all-
Leave
this
it
is
on here,
called
Mark. Leave it for the record.
authenticity.
We gonna leave it on
When
here.
we go toe to toe with ourselves, what start happening? Emerging cyber attacks, except for the attacks began to happen within. Right? We got it's the inner work.
I'm gonna
right?
let you work that
Oh,
thing.
we gonna work this
that.
thing. You have people that's spying out on you or thinking they know what you're talking about. It's an emergent cyber because I don't know what's going on. There's change happening. I don't necessarily see it on the outside, but I can feel it all on the
Okay.
inside.
Okay,
That's
come
the
on.
turmoil, right? So now I got to fight against with the change that God is doing, the change I'm being intentional about,
Yeah.
and then the person who I used to be. Those people absolutely collide. So it becomes an attack within itself. So don't worry about it. You feel exploited.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You're being infiltrated.
Yes.
The enemy done stole some things from you.
Come on.
Come on.
J
This is real
Love.
life.
Come
this is
here.
real life. So don't worry about that. It's imperfections making it perfect because everything happens what?
Yeah, everything works together for good. So it's
Okay.
gonna be a purpose in it.
Okay.
I'm with
So was
it.
it not a purpose within what just
There's a
happened?
purpose.
Amen. We
Listen, y'all
glorify
see
God.
how quick I was ready to get out the ring. I'm like, baby, no, what we not
You
finna
toe
do
to
with
toe.
that? No.
There's no need to-
But that's what happens,
Face
and
it head
that kind of leads us into
Amen.
that next point. Like a lot of times we try to accommodate the situation, and we try to fix it,
Yeah.
and we try to edit it out, or we
on.
try to find a way to be comfortable
Yeah.
in the mess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, it messed up, so I can fix it, and that's what happens a lot of times with when we get in the ring with ourselves to face ourselves.
Yeah.
We kind of look at it and go, "Ooh, I don't like that, so let's stop." Like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to do the work anymore. I don't want to dig anything up because that's bad and I don't like it, and that's gonna be an imperfection, and people are gonna see my mess,
Yeah.
and I don't want that. So let's stop. Let's stop. Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Let's fix it. Fix
Yeah.
it quick.
Yeah.
So like, talk to me about like accommodating the mess, because once you realize there is mess,
Yeah.
oftentimes we don't want to jump out of it right then.
Absolutely.
Like we want to deal with it like we want to deal with
Absolutely.
it, or how we want to avoid it or cover it up or dress it up or fix it up. So talk to me a little bit about that. Like, what
So-
happens with when what you think about yourself is really not what God has called you to be. You know
I can
what I
honestly
mean?
say I did. My response was just like that yours was in its authenticity. I want to cover it up. I want it to make it look pretty and all of that. But I remember one day I was clean. I was tidying up in one of my other spaces, right? And some stuff fell, and I'm trying to catch it as it was falling, right?
Ooh.
And then the Lord was like, when I move, everything else will fall into place when I move the mess out the way.
Wow.
So that was 2012. At that moment, that time, it was about 2017, 2018. So the Lord was still working on me.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch the mess. trying to keep it together. Why?
Right.
Because my hands is in it.
Right,
I'm being infiltrated.
right.
I don't know what to do. I feel exploited. I feel exposed. I had during this time is when I was going through the divorce. So now everybody, or I feel as though everybody knows my business.
Right.
Right. So I'm moving mess out the way, not knowing what that mess was, all of what the mess is. Right. Because, you know, when you start
when you start digging, ain't no telling what you'll find.
Exactly. You start uncovering things. Some things you've dealt with, so you recognize it right away. Other things you just like, where does come from?
Right.
And those things are where does come from? They don't always have a large impact, but nonetheless, it becomes a foxhole.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, even though this doesn't have a whole lot of weight, I'm going to work on this too, so that it does not grow, and you won't begin to feed on these things. So everything that the Lord does and everything that you do and as we do when we're working on one, it has to be intentional.
Yeah.
It cannot happen any other way.
Yeah, I definitely think that like one of the things that you like kind of hit on when you were talking about, you know, basically wanting to catch it before it falls. I think we all have some sort of way experienced that moment when you see.
Yeah.
Everything is about to be exposed. Like you see, everybody is about to know. Like you can't cover it up anymore. Everybody is about to know that, you have cancer because your hair is about to fall out. Or, everybody knows that you had a repo because now your car is not out front in the yard anymore. Everybody knows you got evicted because your stuff's on the side of the road. Or everybody knows you're going through divorce, or you went through the miscarriage, or, whatever that thing is. Like that moment when everybody is about to know your mess. And in the Bible, it kind of reminds me about, when Mary and Joseph, she was pregnant by the Holy Spirit, and at that point, the angel had to tell Joseph, still take her. Like, even though you know what's about to be said about you, like, even though you know what they're about to think about your situation, even though you weren't married yet and you're pregnant out of wedlock or whatever that thing for you is, like, even though people are about to know your mess, like trying to resist the urge to catch it before it falls. That's a real thing. So kind of deal with that a little bit more, because so many times we try to do that and we try to lessen the fallout, so to speak. Like, I'm getting a divorce, but we'll still go to these family functions together. Or yes, we're I'm going through cancer, but I'll wear the wigs. Or yes, we're getting put out, but we'll put everything in a box.
But why does it have to be bad? But why does those same perceptions or the same things that are said when something bad has happened can also be said when something is good?
Yeah.
Because what did the Lord do? He set that whole situation up so that Mary was not going through this alone.
Right.
There's somebody else that is here with you. Matter of fact, your cousin, she pregnant too.
Right.
So what's happening, although what's being perceived looks bad, because, we know that Joseph obviously isn't the father of this coming child, but it's a good thing that's happening to you. There's a good thing that's happening to you. So I'm about they can say what they want to say. Because you have to remember what I've told you. Right? We have to remember to hold on to the promises of God in this situation and in this scenario, because I'm doing a new thing. So we have to accept the new thing from the Lord, so that he can continue to do the work that he needs to do in us, so that he can have his perfect work, right? Going to the people that needs this relationship that you and I have was an orchestrated and divine relationship. So me thinking, I was on the opposite side of, I don't know how to let people in and perceive, but then the first entry of our anchor, prayer exposed, right? Prayer exposed what was to become, and even then we didn't have a full blown idea.
Not at all.
And here we are, and it's only been a couple of months.
Right, and it was quick. And I think about, like, even with the boxing scenario, like when Rocky would be in the ring and it looked like he was being defeated, like all signs pointed to he was about to lose. Like his face is swollen, his blood, like everybody sees it. It's televised. Everybody sees the going through. And it's kind of like when you have even a heel that's uncomfortable, you can get like the cushions and Dr. Souls that you add to it to kind of lessen the pain while you're in it. Sometimes we do the same thing with our issues, and we try to find ways to lessen the blow, so to speak. And I think that that is part of us dealing with things toe to toe. Like, you can no longer just say, this is just who I am, this is just what it is, and y'all just gonna have to deal with it. Like, it's not it's not just a place of accommodation where we can just fix it either. It's not a suck it up and deal with it, and it's not a we just gonna cover it up. I think we have to get to the point that we stop using our explanations or our justifications as our excuse. You know what I mean?
So dig into that.
Definitely, because a lot of times we think because we have a logical answer or justification for it, i.e., I'm a smart mouth because, my mama was a smart mouth. Okay. Or I cuss because my whole family cuss. That's just a Jones thing to do. My last name is not Jones. A shout out to anybody who is. I'm not saying your family are cussers. What I am saying is you can't just say that is part of your nature, and because you have an explanation doesn't excuse you from the accountability of dealing with the issue. My daddy, wasn't in my life, or my mom wasn't in my life, or, I was molested, or, I've always had a stutter, or whatever your thing is. So you can't use that as an excuse to not deal with it.
Because that's like, oh, I want this job, but I don't apply for it.
Right.
Or I see what I can do, whether you are a creator, if you're someone who doesn't mind working for other people. Like, I want to own a business, but you never do the research within that field to be able to understand and grow so that you can have a space to occupy.
But that's the man, Jackie. You just don't know. That's the man holding me down, right?
I ain't trying to hear about the man. What about your mindset, though?
Right.
What about your
Come
mindset?
here, mindset.
What thoughts did you have that told you, first of all, that I can do this?
Right.
We got to stay on that same thought process. Like,
well, that's a male-dominated field, Jackie, though. People like me and you just don't get in there.
Be the one to break the glass up.
Right, you mean to tell me because that's the way it's been all the time. It's always been this way.
Still got excuses, huh? Mm-hmm. We all have them.
Right. I 1,000% agree. I will confess that one of my earlier excuses, which I'm delivered from now, is that I had daddy issues. Okay. You know what I mean? That was one of the ones that I kind of used as my go-to, for example. And it was, I don't trust men, and I have a trust issue because my dad wasn't here, da 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 da. And at the end of the day, God was like, okay, well, is the person you looking at your dad? You know what I mean? Like at some point, I'm not saying that those things are not valid. Right. What we're saying is you need to get in the ring with them and go toe to toe with that and deal with it, because you can't continue to allow those things to hinder you from what God is calling you to. You can't keep justifying it. You can't keep covering it up. You can't just keep putting your stake in the ground and saying this is who I am and that's just what it's gonna be. You can't keep living in that mindset if you really want to heal in your heels.
So what can we do?
We can definitely start, number one, with prayer. You gotta start with prayer, because what you are about to encounter, what you are about to see, is not going to be pretty. So let's get it out of our minds that getting into a ring with yourself is gonna be cute. The whole point of getting in the ring is it's gonna be some blows back and forth. There's gonna be some damage. There's gonna be some sweat, some blood, some tears. There's gonna be some bumps. There's gonna be some bruises. There's gonna be some cuts. You're going to get worn out. You're gonna get tired. It's gonna become exhausting.
What's the maintenance?
The maintenance part of it is you gotta keep going. Okay. You gotta keep praying. You gotta keep reading your word. You gotta keep tuning into sources that are feeding you wisdom and feeding you sound doctrine. Because what happens is we'll watch things like Real Housewives of this or that, or we'll watch whatever reality TV, or we'll jump on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and we'll try to find our source and our validity in our issues there. But even if your issue is valid, let's say that, even if it is valid, you still need to get rid of it. It doesn't matter how valid you think it is. Yes, you were molested. 1,000%. We're not denying it. It is what it, like we talked the last time. Yeah. We're not pretending like the issues don't exist. Exactly. Okay? But at this point, once we confess that they exist, now it's time to get in the ring toe to toe and face to face, deal with what you got going on.
when you were mentioning those things, the thought that came to me is, okay, Jackie, what is your process? What is something that you do? And I always ask myself why, right? When they tell you when you start a business, ask yourself, what's your why?
Yeah, what's your why? Yeah.
Same thing when you're going through these processes. Okay, I'm mad. Why?
Right.
Okay, was it what they said or was it how they said it?
Let's dig in it.
Okay, it was how they said it. Why?
Okay, why did they bother you?
Why did it? Oh, what they tone said. Okay, but what they said, was it true? Or was it false? It had no weight to it, but was it true for you?
Right.
Or was it false? Have you seen these things in yourself? Are you willing to do the work? Okay, you're willing to do the work. Why? Keep asking yourself why, because when you keep doing that, you uncover the other stuff.
Right.
And before you know it, you have, because that was all emotion we talked about in the service today, right? To let go of your feelings.
Fire your feelings. Shout out Jason Meadows.
All the things, right? Because usually that's probably the natural response.
Right, it is.
I feel some type of way.
Yeah. We definitely do that one. I think that for me today, I had to fire my feeling of frustration, and I have not done a good job. Okay, I put it on a 2-week sabbatical, and it didn't last 2 weeks. It didn't last 2 minutes because I was frustrated right behind it. It's that thing, and like he said, our feelings are wrapped up in our flesh. Yeah. But I have this statement that I try to remind myself, which says that I don't have to be offended even if an offense comes.
Absolutely.
Which means just because something does bother me, just because I do have an issue, I don't have to take that on as part of my being. Like I don't have to, just because I may have done whatever, said whatever, went through whatever. Homelessness is not who I am. Molestation is not who I am. Trust issues is not who I am. It's a heel that I put on, but I can take it off.
Absolutely.
And I think that for Healing and Heals, this particular episode is what we want to make sure we kind of deal with. And I love your tactic of why. I had my mentor, Dr. Alicia Rain Norwood. She would tell us all the time, you need to deal with your 3 whys. And that gets into your heart, your intent, and your motive. What is it in you that feels some type of way or is holding on to whatever that is? Are you holding on to the very thing that is killing you? Are you squeezing tight and making a part of you something that God never called you to be? He never called me to have trust issues.
Let it go.
Yeah, you got to let it go. He never called me to be frustrated. He's the God of peace.
Yeah.
So why should I hold on to frustration?
So that's methodology as well. Is he's the God of peace.
Yeah.
So I'm going to release, because when we lose something or when we bind something, we also must loose,
that's
right?
That's it.
Okay,
you gotta
so
do
I'm
both.
going to bind the spirit of frustration. I'm going to loose the peace.
Right.
So that we know that these things work hand in hand. The Lord did not make just the earth. He made the heavens and the earth. He is above and beneath, right? Like, so, I'm sorry, above, not beneath. Lord have mercy. Right? We got to know the word, so that, because this is the tactic. This is how we fight. The Lord's word will not return to him void.
Right.
So if you don't know the word, there's nothing from the Holy Spirit to pull from.
Right.
So that's part of your arsenal. Like, there's something to keep handy. I don't know all the words. I don't know the Bible like you know the Bible, Jackie. Baby, Google it.
Right.
Until you learn it.
Listen, between Google and God,
download that Bible app.
You can figure it out. Between
Resources,
Google
people.
and God, you can figure it out. We want to make sure we let you guys know, as usual, we are not licensed therapists or counselors. We do not claim to be. We're just living our healed life and walking in our healed process and sharing the journey with you. I want to make sure that if you take nothing else from this particular episode, when you decide to get in the ring and go toe to toe with you, make sure that you alleviate the justifications and the excuses on why you're doing what you're doing. Make sure you're not claiming and proclaiming yourself and taking on parts of things that people have expressed to you as part of yourself if that's not who God called you to be. So number one, when you get in the ring, make sure that you put on your gloves, meaning that you put on the word. You can't fight the enemy unless you got something to fight him with. And on top of that, put in your mouth guard. Sometimes you just need to shut your mouth.
What you
Some
said?
stuff ain't to be said out loud for everybody to hear, because the enemy is the prince of the airwaves. And when you say things out of your mouth, you're giving life to it. Life and death is in the power of your tongue. So sometimes you need to put your mouth guard in and shut your mouth.
Bridle the tongue,
The
Lord.
other thing is you need to make sure you got your headgear on. If it's something in your space that consistently frustrates you, that consistently aggravates you, that is always a problem. If every time you listen to this particular song, you feel like knucking if you buck, then don't play the song. Protect your mind.
Think about what you're thinking about.
Yeah, don't just let any and everything wander through your head space. And then of course they have, the shield that they put over their loins and stuff. But in essence, what that means is protect your more sacred parts. If you know you still sensitive in a particular area, protect that area. Don't let any and everything happen there. Don't allow any and everybody to speak to you there. If you know that's a sensitive space for you, if you know that that's going to be a problem for you, make sure to guard yourself from that.
Guard your heart.
Bob left, weave right, whatever you got to do, but dodge those things that disturb your peace. And make sure above all things, you're asking yourself those questions of why. Why am I here?
That's
why
the
do I feel
confrontation
frustrated?
that needs to happen.
Yeah, because we want to be confrontational with everything and everybody but ourselves.
Yeah.
So today,
Yes.
as we have gone toe to toe with ourselves, as we've gotten into the rings, I took a couple of blows from you, Jackie, with my little seed. I took a couple of blows, but at the end of the day, I think I come out with a win.
Yeah, you did.
It's a win-win because
Victorious.
I am definitely victorious.
Yes.
So as we conclude today's episode of Healing and Heals, we want to shout out all of you guys who are going toe to toe. So make that your mission this week. Also, go ahead and if you have not, search us out on all of our social media platforms. Make sure you check us out. The journal will be dropping soon, so there will be posts about that. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Amen.
And we are going to have the journals posted on our website where you can order them through Amazon.
Yeah.
They will be posted very soon, so keep your eyes out for that. Also, get ready. We are getting closer and closer to the episodes where we are about to start bringing in guests.
Yay!
So you guys are about to get some additional resources.
Excited.
So shout out to every last one of you who have journeyed with us thus far. If you have not, feel free to go back and watch our first 2 episodes. We would love for you to continue on this healing journey with us as well, because healing, it is not a process. It is definitely a lifestyle, and we plan on walking it out with you. So until our next episode, I'm Christina Marie.
I'm J Love.
And this is the Healing and Heals Podcast. We're going to walk it out. Peace.